And the recording is live. Cool. Yeah. So welcome to today's session on expat health insurance, a deep dive on this product. You've already been introduced to Diana and myself, so we can jump right into the content. Just a little bit about who we are at Feather. So been around for 6 years, and our goal is to make insurance simple and honest. So, it should be very easy to understand the products that we offer, and you get exactly, there should be no bad surprises. You get exactly what you expect. And webinars and sessions like the one today are, helping you understand the products that you're buying. So yeah, the cool things that we do is, online signups, claims, all completely in English, completely digital. And we have a really great team that really cares. You can tell by the incredible reviews we have both on Google and Trustpilot. You should check them out. And the other nice thing that we have is we have all the insurance that you'll ever need in Germany, all in one place, in one account. So really super easy to manage. How we build insurance products. Typically, sometimes we just copy paste the best thing out there on the market. So we look at all the products and see what is the best thing and try and do it. And sometimes we'll try and go a step further. By, for example, making products easier to cancel than exist on the market, or a little bit better or a little bit cheaper. And our Expat Health Insurance is actually one of those products that is, in terms of price, value, what you get, and how easy it is to cancel and generally manage and upgrade. It's the best product in the market at that price point. So really excited to share with you the details today. Here's an overview of the topics. I think I'll won't go too much into detail because we're going to go into a lot more detail in a minute. But basically, what type of health insurances exist, what kind of eligibility requirements are for Expat Health, and then a bunch of details on the policy, because that's what we're here for today. Cool. I think you can kick us off here.
Cool. So first question, I think most of you here are already Expat members, so let's see how well you know this policy. Is Expat Health Insurance a type of statutory health insurance, a type of comprehensive private health insurance, a type of incoming private health insurance, or a type of travel health insurance? We'll maybe give you all a minute to vote. Can everyone see the poll?
Hopefully. Looking good. Triangle, square, circle, bottom right corner, and then click. Cool. Wait 5 more seconds.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to show this? Yep.
Can everyone see the results as well now?
I can't, but maybe.
It's in the poll space.
It's in the poll space. Got some friendly people helping, thanks.
Okay, so what was the majority, Rob?
Indeed, the majority was incoming private health insurance.
Very good.
But actually, we had more votes combined for all of the other options than this one. So
Okay.
it was the top option was correct, but a lot of confusion still.
Okay, so the answer is it is an incoming private health insurance. So in the next slide, I'm going to sort of break it down a little bit, and we're going to talk about them further as well. So in Germany, when we look at insurance options here, we've got short-term basic health insurances, which is what incoming insurances fall under. And then we have long-term comprehensive health insurances. So this is going to be statutory insurances like public, and also comprehensive private insurances. Now, you've probably heard that Expat is a private insurance, and that is correct. Incoming insurances are also a type of private, but incoming private is quite different to comprehensive private. They work differently, they have different cover, they have different timeframes. So they are technically both under the private umbrella, but they are quite different. You might have also heard that Expat Health is a type of travel insurance. It does also get lumped into that a little bit. Again, it falls under the same category as an incoming insurance, but it is again different. So a true travel insurance is typically going to be the most low cost, the most sort of bare bones in terms of what it can offer. And it often won't include things like outpatient care. It'll often do sort of only the really necessary treatment, and then essentially repatriate you back to your home country. Whereas an expat health insurance, whilst it's not, say, as comprehensive as a public or private, it still is going to offer more coverage and will offer things typically like outpatient care, and things like repatriation will be only a very last resort. So there are definitely differences between those as well. So before we get stuck into expat health, I did want to give you all a little bit of an overview first of public and comprehensive private, because I do think it's important to know a little bit about each of those, what they are, how they work, and how to become eligible for them. So first up, public health. It is a government-funded health insurance scheme. It is a fully comprehensive health insurance that over 90% of people living here in Germany are on. It is long-term, and in terms of the cost is calculated for public health based on a person's income. One of the great things on public health is dependents are added free of charge. And another great thing about it is accepted for all visas and all visa renewals. Just one point about the dependents, because I did get a few questions about that. What is a dependent? Can you just add your spouse or your partner to your public policy? Well, there's a couple of things to think about. One, the dependent has to be your legal spouse, so your husband or your wife. It can't be, say, your girlfriend or boyfriend. And also, they need to be considered dependent of you. So they need to be earning under the current dependence threshold, which is 485 euros per month. So if that's the case, then yes, your spouse can potentially be added to your public insurance policy, or you can be added to theirs. So for eligibility, I think there's a bit of misconception about who is eligible for public health. So I wanted to cover this today. There's pretty strict eligibility requirements to get onto public health. And there's essentially two brackets. There's mandatory insured and voluntary insured. If you're mandatory insured, that is a person who gets a job with a German company and they earn between 6,456 euros and 69,300 euros per year gross. If that's the case, then you actually don't get a choice. You have to sign up to public health. You are under mandatory public insurance in that regard. But there's also voluntary public health. This name is a bit deceiving though, because it sounds like you can just sign up if you want to. It's not quite the case. You still have to meet certain requirements. And one of them is if you have had recent public health insurance history in the EU, UK, or Switzerland. Now, you don't need to be a citizen of these countries. You could be, for example, from Canada, but you've lived in France for the last few years and had public insurance there. If you've had recent public health insurance in one of these countries, then you may be eligible to sign up for public health here in Germany. The other one is dependents, which I just covered. And next up, I'll get Rod to chat to you a little bit about comprehensive private health.
Yeah, thanks. Private health insurance is kind of a weird quirk of the German system that allows you to opt out of public health insurance. Yeah, so the way private health insurance works is you get basically more advanced care. So you usually have better doctors, faster access to doctors. The cost is calculated based on your actual risk, so not based on your income. So when you're younger, it's often much cheaper, and when you're older, the price rises quite a bit. But if you sign up when you're young enough, it can still work out cheaper over the whole course of your life. That's something to think about in detail. The plans are really customizable. So public insurance is really the government mandates 95% of the contents of the government plans, and 5% is kind of how the providers differentiate. In private health insurance, the difference can be huge. You can go from very bare bones cover, less than public health insurance, to everything included, all bells and whistles attached. In terms of eligibility for visas, it's completely, works just as public health insurance for everything. I mentioned the shorter waiting times, and dependents cost extra money per dependent. So if you sign up for yourself and you have a family of 10, that's 9 other plans you have to be paying for. I mean, if you did have 8 children, almost always public will be, way cheaper. Yeah. One thing to mention for expats, indeed, is we do have a short-term option you can use up to 5 years. You'll automatically be upgraded to full private health insurance afterwards, and it's about 50% of the cost of full private health insurance. So it's really, if you're not planning on staying in Germany for long, this is also a really, really good one to get full cover for. The eligibility requirements as kind of pieced together with the public health insurance. So if you're a freelancer, you need to be earning at least 25,000 euros a year, and you have to prove that you're earning at least this much money. Otherwise, no private health insurance company will let you sign up. And if you're an employee, you have to be earning above 69,300. Typically, if you're an employee earning above this limit, you have the choice between public and private. And we generally say, if you don't know what you're doing, go on public. It's quite easy to switch to private later, but it's a little bit harder to switch back. So when in doubt, go with public health insurance. And health screening also happens. So if you want to sign up, you have to have a scan of your health. So for example, if you already have a serious pre-existing condition, you might be blocked from signing up to private health insurance. And if a medical screening is required, we'll reimburse that up to 195 euros, which covers, honestly, 99% of medical screenings necessary. Indeed, and now the prize question of today.
So yes, so what if I'm not eligible yet for public or private, or what if you are, but you're maybe not ready to commit to either of those yet? So in comes expat health insurance. So expat health insurance, just in a little bit of a nutshell before we get into a bit more of a deeper dive, if you just go to the next slide. It is a legal health insurance in Germany. We have a basic and a premium plan, and both of these plans cover the 193 VVG requirements for health insurance in Germany. You don't need to know what that means, but if you ever have a visa appointment coming up, the visa officer will know what that means. It's also a BaFin approved insurance in Germany, and BaFin, correct me if I'm wrong, Rob, but essentially they're like an overseeing body that looks at financial institutions in Germany and also oversees insurers. And usually, great, thank you. And essentially, if you're applying for a visa, they usually do want to see if the insurance is BaFin approved, and ours is. Essentially, this insurance policy offers basic legal health insurance cover that is designed for shorter term use. It is an affordable, really accessible and flexible policy. We have a super flexible cancellation policy as well. And so in the next slide, you're going to see a little bit of a comparison. When I talk to customers, for example, in a call, I always say there's benefits and there's limitations to all of the health insurance options here. And I think it's really important to know what they are. And, if you do have the choice to pick between 2 or maybe 3 of them, just being informed about each option is really important, so you know what is going to be the best one for you and your situation. And maybe that changes later. But anyway, I just wanted to give this little overview here first. So expat health, as you can see, is going to be by far the most affordable in terms of price points, followed by private health. If you sign up when you're young and healthy, it can still be really great price point, followed by public health. And in terms of how the price is calculated, expat is a set price based on the tariff that you choose, basic or premium, and also based on your age. Lastly, with private health, it is calculated based on your age and your health status. And again, if you're employed by a German company, then your employer pays for up to half. In terms of the coverage, we'll cover this soon, but expat will be the most basic. Public is good. But if you have pre-existing conditions, public is going to be an excellent option because it doesn't discriminate and it covers pre-existing conditions. Private health can be really great coverage, as Rob mentioned. You can really customize your plans and have really extensive cover on full private. On the next one, there's a little bit more of a breakdown. So you can see on, there's a little bit of a typo here as well, but basically on public health, dependents are covered for free, whereas you pay on expat and private. There is a time limit on expat, whereas there isn't for public and comprehensive private. For expat, visa eligibility is usually only valid for the first one, whereas public and private, it's valid for all of them. And lastly, the requirements to get on, as you've seen, for public and private, there's stricter eligibility criteria, whereas on expat, there isn't. It's most people can sign up. So now let's do a little bit more of a deep dive on expat health. So if you just go to the next slide, Rob, I think we've got, yeah. So who is eligible or most suitable for expat health, Rob? You're muted.
Thank you. No webinar is complete without that one. It's actually, yeah, everyone who's not yet employed in Germany. So if your status is haven't signed up for a job yet, but have a job lined up, you're eligible for expat health. If you're a freelancer that is earning below that threshold of 25,000 euros, you're probably likely going to be on this plan. Anyone that's applying for, first-time visa or residency permit, this is a really great plan to get on. You can switch off it later. Students above 30 are not allowed to sign up for public health insurance. So typically we recommend this one until you get a job and then switch typically into public health insurance. Some people that are not eligible for public and can't sign up for private health insurance because of pre-existing medical conditions, this can be kind of a good plan for a while until you find a way to, likely end up on the public system. There's ways of doing that. And finally, people that are signing up for KSK, and again, this is one of those things, you have this plan for a while until you get on public health insurance. So you can, in all of these cases, you can tell it's a temporary situation. But, for no one who's going to stay 10 years, do we recommend this plan? Ooh, and a quiz question.
Yes, so I wanted to see if you know who is not eligible for expat health. So I'll get you all back to the polls and tell me if you know which one of these people or persons is not eligible to sign up for expat health insurance.
This is actually a really hard question.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, I'll leave it for 10 more seconds. People are voting really quickly this time, so obviously we've learned how to...
Yeah, I can see it now, actually. My computer's let me see the poll this time, so that's nice.
Cool, I think that's everyone. I shall share the results.
So majority...
You can see the results, you can talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, so the majority is German citizens. So the actual answer is professional athletes. So another really interesting point here is a lot of people think if they have EU citizenship or if they have German citizenship, they can't sign up. You actually can. The caveat, though, is you can't have current, active, public, or comprehensive private health insurance. If you're on one of those, then you can't sign up for expat. But if you're someone, for example, you have dual citizenship and you haven't lived in Germany before, or you're from the EU, or you left Germany for a long time and now you're back, you can actually sign up to expat health. So there's a fun fact for you. But actually professional athletes are not eligible for the cover, and that includes dancers. We'll go into the next slide because it covers the other people that are not eligible. It's a very short list. If you're subject to mandatory public insurance, then you have to go to public, so then you're not eligible for expat anymore. Persons who have lived in Germany for over 5 years, because there's a 5-year limit to this policy. If you're over 75, then you're not eligible anymore if you're in permanent or high levels of care, or if you're practicing professional sport, as I mentioned. So those are really the only exclusion criteria. Pretty much anyone else is eligible to sign up. So, Rob, you mentioned before that there's a health screening for comprehensive private. We do sometimes get asked if there is one also for expat. No, there's not. We don't ask any health questions on sign up. You can just sign up straight away. But we do have a 31-day waiting period on the policy. You are still covered during the waiting period, but it's just more limited cover. So life-threatening accidents and emergencies are still covered. So you can still show your insurance for a visa if needed during the waiting period. But there are some people who are exempted from the waiting period. For example, if your policy started within 31 days of entering Germany, then no waiting period applies to you. So next up, the length of the policy, as I mentioned, is 5 years. I just want to clarify that, that it's 5 years from the date that you enter Germany. That's when the legal limit is counted from. It's not from the date that you got your Anmeldung or your registration, and it's not the day that you get your visa or residence permit. It has to be the date that you enter Germany for your residency. And then for visa compatibility, we get questions about this a lot. Basically, Expat will work for any first-time residence visa or permit, or almost any. This includes national D visas, job seeker visas, working holiday visas, freelance visas, including the artist visa, family reunification visas, and student visas. These work almost every time, 99%. Every now and then we maybe get someone coming to us having some sort of issue, but if you just reach out to us for these, we can usually give you some extra information or documentation to help. So we can usually get them over the line. But what it's not usually valid for is a work visa or a blue card visa. This is because you are subject to mandatory insurance, or either public or full private. So you do need to show proof of those for your visa application, but you can also have expat to use for any periods that you'll be in Germany before your employment commences. So say you'll be in Germany 2 months before, you can use expat and then also sign up to public and private and show both of those for your visa appointment. But just expat alone won't be enough. And we can actually help you with this. So if any of you are in this position now or in the future, please reach out to us. We can help you through this process. And then just lastly, just last point about the visas. Expat is not typically sufficient for secondary visas or visa renewals. So there is only one exception that I've really seen for that, and that is if you are a student and you finish your studies and then you're going for a job seeker visa post-studies, then normally expat health is still okay, and you can use that for that period. But that's really the only exception. Aside from that, typically the visa office will want you to be on a public or private, comprehensive private insurance for any renewals. So next up, we're going to talk about coverage. I know this was a big question for everyone this evening, and I'm really happy to cover this because I really want everyone to be as informed as possible as to what they can use their insurance for and what they can't use the insurance for. So what is covered? In a nutshell, new medical conditions that first commence after your policy starts, medical care with a doctor is likely to be covered within that, or is it within the scope of coverage for that expat policy? This includes outpatient care. So you can go to a general practitioner such as a house artist, you can go to an outpatient specialist, you can go to the ED of a hospital, you can get treated as an inpatient in a hospital. If you get medications prescribed, you can claim for those. So if you have a new medical condition after the cover starts, I would say that the coverage is actually quite comprehensive there. This also includes, by the way, assessments, diagnostics, imaging, x-rays, MRIs, things like that. So from that point of view, the coverage is quite extensive. In terms of non-medical care, so care not from a doctor, we do have some additional non-medical extras. I'll chat a little bit more about those in a second, but just here on this slide, there's also hospital transport. So this is only though if you get taken in for an inpatient stay. If that's the case, you can claim for the hospital transport. If there is another pandemic, hopefully not, but that is covered under this policy, and repatriation is also covered under this policy. So what then is the other additional cover? under Expat Health. So dental, we had a few of these. So on the Expat policy, on the basic one, you get €500 per year towards pain relieving dental treatment. And on the premium plan, you get €1,000 per year for pain relieving dental treatment. This all needs to be, again, for new dental issues that first start after your cover starts. And then additionally on the premium plan, after a 6-month waiting period, you get €200 per year for checkups, €100 per year for cleanings, and some cover for dentures as well. Then we've got physical therapy next. So on the basic plan, it's $300 per year, and on the premium plan, it's 100% cover. Again, this is for new physical issues or injuries or accidents that occur after the cover starts. And for physical therapy, we do also need a referral from your doctor. So you'll just need to attach that when making your claims. And you can also claim for the doctor's appointment, just so you know. Routine checkups. So under the basic plan, there's no cover for routine checkups. And just to clarify what that means, if you have a symptom or a complaint and it's something new and you wanted to go to a doctor about that, that's fine. But if you don't have any symptoms, there's no complaints, you just want to go and get it checked, make sure it's okay, and it's purely preventative, that's not within the scope of expat cover. There are, however, some exceptions on the premium plan, as you can see. So after 6 months on the premium plan, you do get some checkups for dental, skin checkups, pregnancy checkups, as well as cancer screening checkups. Then some pregnancy cover. I did have another few questions on that. So on the basic and premium plan, if there's any unexpected abnormalities with the pregnancy or pregnancy loss or medically necessary termination or premature delivery, this is all covered under both the basic and premium tariffs. But if you want to also get your checkups and your birth covered, then the premium tariff really is the way to go, because after 6 months on the plan, you get the checkups and childbirth covered. And they're not cheap, so it's a really good bang for your buck there.
Can I just highlight here, this is like one of the biggest differences of the plans, is if you think that there could be a chance of you having a child while on this plan, you should definitely go on premium, because, you know, childbirth, yeah, it's thousands of euros. You know, a birth that goes well is 4,000, and a birth that has some complications can be 8,000 or 10,000 euros. So it's really crazy not to get this one included. So yeah, one of the biggest differences in the plan, I think.
Yeah, it's a really, really good benefit to the premium plan for sure. So then some additional coverage details. So visual aids, there is some cover on the premium plan. There's also some cover for travel vaccinations and COVID vaccinations on the premium plan. There's also aids and equipment cover on both plans. So if you have an accident, say you need a cast or a brace, there is cover for both of those under these plans. There's actually more cover for general aids and repair of existing aids on the premium plan too. Just didn't have enough space to pop them in there. And on both plans, you get a video doctor appointment, 1 on the basic plan, 2 on the premium plan. And there's no deductible for these, so they're completely complimentary appointments. So definitely use those to your advantage. And then lastly, on the premium plan, this is a wellness benefit that I think a lot of people don't know about, but you can actually claim for €5 per month for fitness apps. And I've actually even seen someone claim for Urban Sports Club and it was approved. So if you've got the premium plan and you've got that membership, then yeah, pop in a claim for that. So repatriation, that is covered. It covers the minimum requirements for visas. So basically, we've got you covered there. But luckily, in the 2 years I've worked here, we've never had to repatriate anyone. So yeah. All right, so then travel cover, last point here is Expat Health will cover you for not only Germany, but countries of the EU and the Schengen countries, as well as the other ones listed here. There's actually no time limit to how long you're in these countries. You could go away to, I don't know, Spain for 3 months. That's absolutely fine. You just need to have your main residence remaining in Germany. As long as that's the case, then you can travel to any of these countries for an unlimited time period, essentially. And one other benefit to the cover that as well, I think a lot of people don't know about is if you've had your expat policy for 1 year, whether that's the basic or the premium policy, you actually also get 6 weeks of cover in your home country per year. So that's another really cool benefit of the plan. So I talked a bit about already that the plan is more basic cover. And so what does that exactly mean? So I guess the biggest thing to note in terms of what the limitations are with the cover for expat health is that pre-existing conditions are not covered under this policy. So that is any medical condition that was known, treated, or diagnosed before your cover started. If that is the case, then unfortunately that is not within the scope of expat cover, and any treatments for that or medications for that would need to be out of pocket. Routine checkups are also not covered under this policy. Like I said, preventative care with some exceptions on the premium plan. And the other things that are not covered under this plan is psychotherapy, treatment for addiction or withdrawals, vaccinations with some exceptions on the premium plan, disorders or damage to the reproductive organs. So that's fertility treatments or sterility treatments such as vasectomies. Those are not covered under this plan. Self-harm or self-inflicted injuries and alternative or holistic therapies are not covered under expat health. So having said that, the cost, I think most people here are actually already on expat health. So if we go to the next slide, I won't go over this too much, but one of the biggest benefits is the price. The price point is really, really excellent. And, you know, it's something that you can definitely start off with and then potentially switch over at a later point when it's right for you. So we'll go to the next slide. So using your insurance, let's talk about the claims process. So Rob, I'll get you to start this one off.
Yeah, cool. So is this the slide? Yes. So yeah, it's actually super easy. When you sign up, you end up in the Feather account, and we've got a guided claims flow that makes sure you submit all the documents necessary in the account needed for the claim. You'll let us know what kind of an appointment it is, upload the necessary documents, and be able to track the status of your claim in the account. Typically, we're very fast with these. I think sometimes days, sometimes 2 weeks, depending a little bit on the backlog here. And if there's ever more info needed, we'll let you know. One kind of thing to note here is we do have a €25 deductible per claim. So that means, for example, if you've got a claim of €50, only 25 will be reimbursed. But if you have a claim of €5,000, then actually 4,975 get reimbursed. So really, it hurts a lot for all those little claims, but actually, if you have a really, really big claim, then it's almost non-existent. And the last thing to know is how we process the claims. In Germany, there's a schedule of fees for doctors, and this is the Gebührenordnung der Ärzte. This is the GOR and GOZ, Z being dentist. They have a schedule for how much they're allowed to charge for what kind of treatments, and we'll cover things up to the limits described in the policy. As an example, as a dentist, we say we cover pain relieving treatment only. So you go to a dentist, you get some pain relieving treatment, and the dentist says, great, and I'll do a load of cosmetic work as well. We'll cover exactly up to the pain relieving part, but not the cosmetic part. Generally, dentists will be very good at this, but also doctors as well. They'll know kind of what the limits are of your plan. If you explain to them, show them the details of your plan, they'll be very good at not going above that. Cool. And the last thing that I think I might have missed, and we do actually, I don't know, did we already release the healthcare card for expat health insurance that is in your Feather account, or is this one, did we put this in the presentation now and we'll be ready with it in a week or so? I can't remember.
I think it's the latter. So there's no actual physical card for expat health, but there will be a digital card launching. I think it's going to be launching very, very soon, if not already, but keep an eye out for that. We'll definitely announce it, but there will be one going into a digital wallet. It's not really going to influence, your use of it. I think it's just sometimes nice to show it at the doctor's office, or just nice to have. So yeah, we'll have that for you all really soon. So I think you can skip the next couple. The only thing I'll mention extra about the deductible, one other cool point about the deductible is it's 25 euros, as Rob mentioned, but it's actually only 25 euros per event. It's not per appointment. So let's say you fall and break your wrist and you need to see a doctor 10 times for your broken wrist. Then you're only going to get charged the deductible once. So it's only a one-off 25 euros. If you then fall and break your leg, then it's another 25 euros for that following medical event. But yeah, it's per event, not per appointment. We also sometimes get customers asking us if they need to inform us about, claims. You don't. Our insurer will always check new claims against old claims and be able to link them if they can see that they're related. So what is required to submit a claim? So I think the biggest thing that can delay a claims process can often be the documentation that's submitted and our insurer then needing to ask for additional documentation. So I think having a good awareness of what documentation is required can really help make the claims process as smooth and as fast as possible for everybody. So what we need when submitting a claim is we do need the official invoices, the final invoices. When they have diagnostic information included, that is super helpful. But at the very least, we need the individual breakdown of the costs and services provided. For example, there's like the Untersuchung, there is like a wound or a suture. It should say the different services and the costs. There should be a breakdown of that included. If you have medications that you want to claim for, we do need a prescription for those. And for certain services like physical therapy, we'll also need a referral. And the last point here, just a little tip about hospital invoices. We do need the final invoice from the hospital. This is only given to you after discharge. And essentially, it's a really interesting thing because when you are given an invoice either before or during the treatment, the cost can change. And interestingly, what we see with hospital invoices is the final amount can often be less than what they've charged you, and the hospital actually owes you money then. So we do actually need to get the final amount. So please ask for the final invoice after discharge for hospital invoices. What is not required to submit? You can submit all of these things, by the way, but you just can't submit them on their own because they're just not enough on their own. So invoices where there's no information, for example, just like a flat fee of 200 euros, this just doesn't give us enough information. Prepayments, payment reminders, or screenshots of payments, things like this are nice to add, but they're not enough just on their own. Cool. So that is, I think, an overview of the claims process. And I guess just a last thing before we get to this is once our insurer essentially processes the claim, if its reimbursement is determined, you'll be notified via email and we'll send the reimbursement directly to the IBAN that you've submitted to us during your claims submission. Cool. So Rob, I think you can maybe introduce this one here, switching from Expat Health.
Yeah, exactly. So actually, you've heard throughout the course of this one, it's a temporary policy. It is extremely cheap. It's very flexible, and the cover is somewhat limited. So we do recommend everyone to upgrade at some point from Expat Health onto a more full plan. And indeed, we recommend basically as soon as you are able to upgrade, you should. Is pretty much our recommendation. So for example, you might be, typical case, you got a job and you are now employed, you are now, you can sign up for public, no problem. So let's say you have a job seeking visa, you do a language course, you stay for 6 months, then you get a job. That's the moment you have a job, sign up to public. The moment you're earning enough money to switch to full private health insurance and aren't thinking of just staying for 6 months, but, think, it might be a couple of years, that's when we think, switching to full private health insurance really makes sense. The latest time you should do it also is, if you have a visa permit renewal coming up, it's probably about 6 months before the renewal is a really good time to start thinking about the plan, which plan you should be switching to, public or private. And you can, if you need help with that, reach out to us. Another thing is the plan runs out, as Diana said, after 5 years. So once your plan runs out, you're going to have to switch and find a way to find something else. The last thing is sometimes you might get lucky and your partner signs up for public health insurance or for private health, and they'll then cover you. And this is actually a really cool feature we've rolled out a while ago, and customers love using it. So the moment you can switch, there's this button in your Feather account, switch to public or private. And we'll basically make sure that your expat health insurance lasts exactly until 1 day before the public or the private cover kicks in. So it's basically, there's no double cover, you're not paying too much, and there's no gap in cover. It's just a really, really easy process.
Yeah, and I just want to say with that, this has actually been a service that we've offered for a while. I think a lot of people don't know that we also offer signups to public and comprehensive private, but we do. And yeah, my team and I, we have really worked on this switcher service to make it really seamless and a really great service for our customers. So if you do think that you are going to switch, you get a job, you can definitely take advantage of this, and we inform you through the process. Like Rob said, we ensure there's no gaps or overlap, and we just make it a really nice, seamless process. And one last thing about this point is when you do get a job in Germany, your employer does typically sign you up. And then people might ask, so why should you sign up yourself? Well, if your employer signs you up, they can sign you up with anyone. Whereas if you sign up yourself, one, you can do it in advance and get everything sorted in your advance, get your cover, get your social security number, have it all set up so there's one less thing to stress about before you start working. But also then you get to pick your public provider. And the cost and the cover between the providers is almost identical. But maybe you want to go to a provider that has really good customer support or really good English-based support. So for example, Barmer or TK, they have great customer service and really good English-based support. So, you can sign up to them and then you have them as your public provider for your upcoming employment, and you have that all sorted out. Cool. And so then lastly, what if you just want to cancel? You don't want to switch, say you're leaving Germany, for example. Well, you can absolutely do that too. So as well, in your Feather account, there is the button to cancel. You just click on this button, just click on the reason that applies to you, and that's it. You won't be billed again the following month. There's no cancellation fees, nothing like that. So that's it. It is a really flexible cancellation policy. There's no lock-in contracts for this policy. And we also do have a 2-week cooling off period for signups. So you can also change your mind and get a full refund if it's not the right policy for you as well.
And one mini fun fact about this cancellation button was when we initially launched the policy, we did not have a confirm that I want to cancel this policy button. So with a bunch of people, see what happens if you click the cancel button, and we had, and then they emailed us afterwards saying, sorry, I didn't mean to cancel, didn't realize it was so easy. So yeah, it really is, just click the button, tell us why, and that's it. Yeah, had to add a little bit of friction here. Yep.
Too easy to begin with. So now we've made it hopefully just easy enough. Cool. So that's the presentation. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening in. I really hope that was informative. And you've learned some new things. I think it's really cool how many of you are attending and want to learn about insurance. But yeah, we've also set some time aside for some questions. So I'll go to the Q&A now. Maybe Rob, you and I could answer one each until we run out of time.
I think what I can do is I'll read them out. So everyone, even the people that can't see the questions, and you can just answer, and if you want me to jump in, just let me know. But I'll just go ahead. So question 1 is, which doctors can I visit?
So you can visit any registered doctor in Germany. There is no list. So yeah, there's no list. I recommend using doctorlib.de to find a doctor in your area. You can also select English-speaking doctors as well.
Cool. Does Expat Health disqualify me from applying to public health?
No. So when I mentioned before that expat is also a type of private, that's one of the differences between incoming privates and full comprehensive privates. With incoming privates such as expat health and travel health, you can absolutely switch from these to public. That's no problem at all. As you've seen, we even have a button for it in our Feather account. It's only for full comprehensive privates where you can still switch to public, but it's a bit more difficult. But that's not the case for expat.
Cool. Does the time paying for expat health insurance impact my path to naturalization after 5 or 7 years in Germany?
Let me find this question again. So could you just repeat, does the time...
I've sorted it by, sorry, I've sorted it by popular.
Okay.
I can
Yep.
I can answer this question if you want, which is just, it's very important to make sure you're on full private or full public at the time, and generally the history before is then ignored. So it's just make sure that you have the full cover. It's a little bit different if you there's pension, like if you're a freelancer, you also have to be paying into the public pension. That's something that you do have to kind of worry about the course of history, but for here it's just basically make sure you're on the full comprehensive plan by the time you want to naturalize.
And I think maybe I saw this question in the sign-ups, and I think it was asking also about getting citizenship. I don't know if this is related to, say, like having insurance history and whether it affects back payments or things like this, but no, expat will still be included as a valid health insurance for that period. So it wouldn't be considered that you haven't had insurance in this time, and it wouldn't have a negative impact in that regard. So I hope that's answered your question.
Cool. Next is, what should a freelancer who makes under 25,000 sign up for a visa renewal?
That's a really good question. Thank you for asking that one. We have a lot of customers in this position, and it's not a really easy situation to be in. Number one, if you are freelancing as an artist, then you should definitely consider applying for the KSK. And if you're running out of time, just reach out to us, because what I have found is if you go for the renewal with expat, but you can show you've applied to KSK, that usually is okay. Can't guarantee it, but it is an option. But if you fall outside of that bracket, we are actually working on a long-term expat health insurance plan with an international provider, and we think that this might be a good solution to this current gap in the market. So we're currently in the development of this, and yeah, I think it's if you want to reach out to us directly, I can tell you a bit more about this option, because we're already offering it. It's just not live on the website yet, but it is something we're hoping to get out there sooner rather than later, because we have so many customers in this position, and we want to be able to help these customers that often do fall through the cracks.
Cool. If I leave Germany before the 5 years are up and cancel, can I sign up again with expat insurance if I return to Germany later?
Good question again. Yes, you technically can, but you need to have left Germany officially. So you have to have left your residency. You have to have done an Abmeldung, deregistered. It has to have been that you left on a permanent basis. And then if you return again at a later point for a new residency, then actually, yes, you can sign up again for 5 years. But if you just leave for a few months on holiday and come back, then no, then it doesn't work.
I was about to say my 1 week holiday doesn't count. Yeah.
Oh, unfortunately not.
Yeah. Cool. So can you switch to public if freelance, unmarried, earning less than 5,000 per year? If no, what happens when your 5 years in Germany are up? I'll take this one as a kind of more public health insurance expert. we've actually got a really cool recommendation tool. Maybe Diana, can you just find that, a link to the recommendation tool and drop it here in the chat? You can click your way through and specify your situation even more, because it depends a lot on kind of what country you're in right now, what health insurance you're on. And if you have trouble with this one, I'd reach out to us in the account and say, this is my situation, and maybe even get a call with the team. Because if you're, there's solutions for you. Try this recommendation tool that we just pasted in the chat, and reach out to us in the team. It's a very individual situation. That's why I can't generically answer this one. Next question. Will I get back payments if I go on private or public health later?
No.
No.
Answer no.
Yep. Cool. Next question. What's the process when visiting a GP? For example, if needing a blood test. In the past, I presented the Feather Insurance cover letter card, and people have looked at it blankly.
Yeah. I've heard that a few times. Essentially, you will act as a self-paying customer or a private customer. Really, unless you're in public health where you have a card that you can just show and they take it and they sort it all out. When you are on a type of private insurance, then you will act as self-paying or private. And you just need to clarify that with the practice, and vast majority of the time, then it's going to be okay. Then you'll just need to do the normal process of paying up front for the invoice and then submitting that as a claim in your Feather account. If you have any issues with the praxis, reach out to us, but that shouldn't be the case.
Cool. Can a freelancer who makes over 25K and has been on Feather Expat for 3 years use the Expat coverage for a visa renewal?
So I wouldn't recommend it. In almost all cases that I see, when it's time for a renewal, the visa office will really want you to be on a long-term comprehensive cover. I guess the philosophy behind that is, for your first visa, the foreign office will be like, yep, it's fine. You can go on something more basic and short term to get yourself settled in, know if you want to stay here. But if you're going for a renewal, it means you want to stay here, you want to be in Germany, and then you have to essentially make it official and get on a long-term, more comprehensive policy. So the first one, they're usually pretty lenient. The second one, that's usually where they get a little bit stricter and really enforce the rules. So if you are eligible for public or private for your renewal, I definitely recommend you get onto one of those.
Yep. How do I find out if my USA health insurance that will still be in effect for 2 months after we arrive is paragraph 193, the Falfalgi approved? I'll answer that one. It's not. It's kind of very silly. The German government has written down some ridiculously specific set of rules that you have to specifically be aiming to fulfill, otherwise you will not fulfill them. Yep. Cool. Next one. Is it tax deductible?
Sorry about that.
No problem. Is it tax deductible?
Yes, it is. I'm not a tax specialist, but it is tax deductible, and we can provide you with a tax statement on request. But I think actually most customers should now get their tax statements also just automatically available in their Feather accounts.
Yep. Cool. So I have a pre-existing psychiatric condition, so I understand that going to a doctor will not be covered. However, can I submit only my medication invoices, attaching the prescription, of course?
Unfortunately not. So anything related to the pre-existing condition is unfortunately not covered under this policy. If that is the case for you and your medical costs are quite high, public health would definitely be the way to go. And if you're not eligible just yet, hopefully now you know more about the pathway to become eligible. And if you still want more support with that, please feel free to reach out to us and we can give you some more details on the pathway or options.
Yep. Following on from that one, private health insurance also won't pay for this kind of pre-existing condition and also not the medication. So in this case, it's without knowing any details, it's probably vastly preferred to end up on the public system.
Yep.
Cool. I'm a freelancer, but also have a mini job. Could my mini job put me on their public health insurance? My question again, as public insurance person, it's mini insurance does not make you mandatorily insured by the public health insurance system. So this fact alone is not enough. If you go to the recommendation tool that we just posted in the chat, it'll ask a bunch of other questions. For example, what country did you move from, and what current health insurance do you have? So it's possible that even with a mini job you can get it, but the mini job alone won't do the trick for you. I recommend using the health recommendation tool. Put in your situation, it'll tell you, are you eligible or not. Typical situation would be you moved from Spain, let's say, and have previous public health insurance in Spain, then you'll be able to sign up even with a mini job in Germany for public health insurance. Is there a penalty for missed payments?
There's not a penalty for missed payments. We normally give you a month to pay. So normally we take the payments on the 1st of the month. And then if you haven't paid by the end of that month, then the policy is automatically cancelled. But you do still then have 30 days to pay the outstanding funds and get your policy reactivated without gaps. So it's a 2-month process. We don't recommend it. We definitely recommend paying for your policy, but there's no penalty, so to speak, as long as you pay within the term and get it back up to speed.
What happens if you can't afford to pay the costs up front?
This is a difficult one. Health insurance obviously is a mandatory requirement legally at all times in Germany.
I think they mean for claims, not for the premiums of the plan.
Gotcha. Okay, so if it's a claim, it really depends on the claim. I would recommend reaching out to us if you're not sure, but if it's a claim, say like of some hundreds of euros, typically we do need those to be paid up front, but maybe you can reach out to the praxis to see if you can get a payment plan or a delayed payment date to give time to essentially get the claim processed in that period. If it's a really expensive claim, so if it's thousands of euros, or if it's, say, like an inpatient hospital stay, for those bigger ones, that's when you should reach out to us, because we then will talk directly with the insurer, and in some cases, they can pay directly to the hospital. But it really is for quite large bills, not for the ones that are, a couple of hundred or things like this. Those are the ones you typically need to pay up front.
Cool. I went to TK to try and change to public health insurance as a student, and I showed them that I'd been on Expat Health for 6 months, and they said that I would have to pay back payments unless I was to start working full time. Was this a mistake on their part or no? Depends if you tried to switch during your, the short answer is, at the beginning of your studies, you have to decide if you want to be on public health or expat health insurance. If you decide to switch halfway through, you're making actually the switch for the full amount of cover. So that means that's why they're asking you to backdate, because it's not possible to sign up for public health insurance halfway through your studies. What they're suggesting is signing up for public health insurance at the beginning of your studies. You can do that, and then we'll actually refund you the whole amount of that cover, or you stay on expat health insurance until the end of your studies and then sign up for public health insurance when starting a job. But that's why, as a university student, that's kind of the one, like a weird quirk of how public eligibility for university students works. So it's actually correct on their part to say this. What happens if you can't afford public cover? In what circumstances will the state cover you? Me again? Yep. So public cover is based as a percentage of your income. So if you actually have no income, it's free if you're eligible. So it'll very, very rarely happen that you won't be able to afford public cover. And yeah, so the kind of nice side effect of this one is that nearly everyone in Germany has healthcare at all times. And the public cover being free means that you will be covered by hospitals. If you have a weird other situation, I think you can reach out to us in the account, and we'll be happy to help you. How soon after arriving are we required to have some sort of insurance? Over to you for this one.
It depends on what grounds you've entered. There are certain countries where you can enter Germany without requiring health insurance for, I think, the first 3 months. So I know, for example, where I'm from in Australia, you can enter Germany for up to 3 months. I think in the US, maybe Canada as well, then you can go up to 3 months without health insurance legally. But I think for most countries, you'd have to check the country. Otherwise, you do need to have health insurance straight away. I wouldn't recommend not having health insurance for that period. Obviously, if something happens, it's just really not worth the risk. So I would get covered straight away. And the other thing to think about, as I mentioned, there is a waiting period for expat health. So if you sign up within 31 days of entering, there's no waiting period. But if you wait 2 months, then there is a waiting period. So then you won't get access to the full cover straight away. So to avoid that waiting period, the quicker you sign up, the better.
Oh, I have to add something to this one, which is a lot of insurance products you could see as a lifestyle product. So, if you get a dental add-on insurance, it's not gonna, if you have it or don't have it, it's not so bad. Or insuring your smartphone is not a big deal. But health insurance is one of those, it's crazy not to have it. So the reason why we say up to 3 months is not needed, it's because the German government assumes that your home cover is active in Germany in that time. So it says if something bad happens in Germany, we'll just fly you back home and you'll have cover. So it's not the case that the German government thinks you have no cover, it thinks you have some cover back at home. If you're completely without cover, you should never be completely without cover.
Yeah.
If I receive grief counseling with a social worker after the death of my husband, will I be ineligible for expat private insurance? If this has happened to you, I'm incredibly sorry about that. And reach out to us in particular details. So for expat health insurance, you'll almost certainly be able to sign up. And in some cases for private health insurance as well, or we'll figure out if public health insurance is the best one. I think this one, feel free to reach out to us.
Yeah.
Next one. Can a freelancer in expat health join their spouse's public health insurance?
So if your spouse, if I understood that right, the spouse is the freelancer, and the other person has public. If the spouse who's a freelancer is earning above 485 euros per month, then they're not considered dependent of that person, and then they couldn't join their public insurance as a dependent.
Okay, next one. You noted that there is a 5-year term to use expat health. If your renewal visa is within 3 years, does that mean you are not eligible to use expat insurance?
So you can use it for up to that period. Let's say it's 3 years that you've got your visa, so you can use it for the 3 years. After that, you still can use expat insurance. You'd still be eligible to use it for up to the 5 years, but it just might not be the right insurance for your visa. So it might be that the visa office says, no, this is not going to be accepted. We need you on public or comprehensive private. If they say that, that doesn't void your expat policy. So it's still active. You can still use it. You still have health insurance. It just means that you need to find another suitable insurance to get your visa improved so you can continue to stay in Germany.
I guess we mean there's a maximum 5-year term.
Yes.
You can sign up for 5 years and then cancel any time before before the 5 years are up. So in this case, use it for 2.5 years and then use that last half a year to find out the more permanent solution. Cool. Thanks for the answers. If I have no income with or without savings and receive public cover without making a contribution, can this free cover negatively affect a future application for citizenship? Completely independent. So it makes no difference if you're on the public system for free or not. It could completely independent. You know, no one's going to check any of this. Next one, and we're down to the last two. How soon after getting a job offer signed or a signed contract does one get signed up for public insurance? Typically within 2 weeks after starting your job is the last, like the absolute latest. But actually you can do it right away. So the second you know you signed a job offer, hit that, you know, switch to public insurance in the account, and everything will be sorted out even before. One kind of cool thing of actually using the Feather switching service is we'll provide you with Sozialversicherungsnummer, the SVNR, automatically that is required to process payroll for you, and we'll give it to you digitally rather than you waiting for something to arrive in the post. So it's kind of one of the really cool features we built with public health insurance. So yeah, basically as soon as you sign that contract, do the switch will be lined up and get the Sozialversicherungsnummer already, so you can get paid.
Yeah. So yeah, as soon as you get the offer, hit that switch button, as Rob said. The public insurer will communicate with your employer and just confirm everything. So you don't even have to have like the contract in your hands. If you've gotten the offer, that's usually enough to sign up. Cool. Are we down to the last one?
Last two, yeah.
Yep.
Do you have any recommendations for health insurance abroad for countries that are not covered by expat health insurance? We're working on it, but for now, actually, if you want, my email is rob@feather-insurance.com, like the URL, just ROB at in front. We are actually just building a couple of worldwide plans at the moment as well. So if you're using it to go abroad for maybe a couple of months, a year, but still based in Germany, we do have something for you. Oh, in fact, you can get our travel health policy as well, up to 56 days a year. It's one of the plans that we have, and if it's longer than 56 days a year, send me that email. Yep. Cool. And then very nice to have a stadium announcer tell us that clearly making insurance transparent in Germany is a passion project for you both. Don't have a question. I'm just grateful for you both for continual evolution of Feather and making the time to explain the products available. Very thankful for your expertise, guidance, and motivation. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah, thanks, Diana, for the presentation today.
Yeah, thank you. That's such a lovely comment. Thank you, stadium announcer. Yeah, that's such a lovely comment. So thank you so much. And I can say that for myself and for the whole team at Feather, I'm really proud to work for this company. I was actually a customer myself, coming from Australia, signing up for health insurance, not knowing how the system works and all the bureaucracy. And I just really appreciated the philosophy and ethos behind Feather and just how informative and honest and transparent